So, welcome to my first experience with D&D, the popular role-playing game that everybody suddenly just kind of got into for some reason. I've been trying to get into it for a little bit, and me and my friends, we ended up buying that $15 Walmart set, and, we sat down with two little propeller things from a drone as our characters, some fucking chess dice thing for our enemies, and a large piece of paper so that we could play on. And then we started. And today I got my friend Tracy. His name is Tracy, and he does a lot of things being DM at first.
I was the DM of the original of the game, and I did not know what I was doing, to be honest, to be quite frank. And I tried my best. I went through the role basically to put it in perspective. The night we started was the night I started reading the rule book.
It was a let's say very quickly put together game. And we kind of suffered because of that. Not only did we very quickly put together our game, but we didn't do it how the books and everything else tell you that you can quickly set up a character or anything like that, because we didn't have the books. We were going off of the limited amount of knowledge that we could get from not only the starting set, but the online information. So we were just looking up every little thing, and that gave us access to the exotic races. So I played a Kenku, and my friend Matthew played fucking, A Simic hybrid, bro. It was just like, god damn.
An elf Simic hybrid.
It was like, Jesus, though. Like, come on. We really made it hard for our characters, especially because of the fact that we didn't even really understand how our character sheets worked.
There's also the fact that in this campaign, there was present a dragonborn,
Well, not at the time. At the very start of the campaign, it was just Kra and Lusa. He wasn't there at the start. It was only started off with me and two people. Me, Matthew, and you.
Really?
Yeah. Nathan didn't join in till later.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I was thinking about his first character.
His first character, yeah. He did come in. His first character ended up coming in... I don't even remember where we found him. He was trying to buy drugs because his character was super drug fiend.
All right, so basically... These guys, the group of adventurers had been hired by a dwarf to go and deliver some goods for him to Phandalin. And so they, albeit a little bit murderily,
I got a story I'm about to tell you guys.
Oh, yeah. they got the wagon there, and they managed to, as someone was waiting... as Lusa was waiting outside for Kra, outside of a tavern or something, he freaking... I don't even remember his name, but the other character walked up.
Yeah. Just, it was Flint.
Flint, that's what it was.
Yeah, his character's name was Flint. And he was very, very, very druggy.
Yes.
Yeah,
one of his favorite things was like to frolic through the meadows and find magic mushrooms of all sorts. And
we had to come up with psychedelic drugs, and we didn't even understand about actually giving people like what is it? Conditions, there we go. We didn't even understand about giving people conditions, so we didn't do like paralyzed or poisoned or anything like that while he was off drugs.
Or even like hallucinating, that would have been a condition we should have done.
We should have homebrewed up a condition for the drugs, but we just didn't. He was just always on drugs.
Yeah.
So, we had a lot of interesting characters for our first campaign.
Even with that, I didn't put disadvantage on any of his rolls.
Yeah, no disadvantage. She was just drugged and okay with it.
He was perfectly fine being high as balls all the time.
All the time. And, here's an interesting story. Before we had our extra drug fiend friend, Flint, we entered the town of Phandalin. And while we were there, my friend, Matthew, he was playing he needed his short sword because he knew the way his character worked, and he knew that he was proficient with short swords, but he was, based off of his class and stuff, he wasn't able to get one. So it was like, I need myself a short sword. We went down to a merchant shop. we started talking to the merchant, and we were like, he's got health potions. We might need those.
This was Bertrand. Why can't I say that?
It was Bertrand's.
I believe it was just like Bertrand's.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter the store name.
It doesn't matter the store name. But we walked in there. We saw the health potions, and we were like, "Hey, man, how much do those cost?" And he's like, 50 gold pieces. Mind you, my character had like 3 on him at the time, so we weren't really gonna be able to do anything of healing of sorts.
And as a DM, you might come at me harassing me. However, Phandalin was, they were quite poor, so a potion or like any type of magical trinket or item in their town was considered rare and very valuable.
Yeah. I could understand at the time at least why it was so expensive, but of course, me being a rogue Kenku and Lusa coming from a criminal past.
I believe he was a fighter. No, he was a
a fighter ranger at the time. Yeah. So basically, we both were like, well, let's get ourselves some health potions so that we'll be able to help this town. Lusa, he has intimidation, and that's one of the main things he was able to get out of his character reading and stuff, and we put it on his character sheet because, like, might I add to you, we barely understood how skills work and weren't even adding them correctly until about like halfway through our campaign. So we were still figuring stuff out at the time, and this was just kind of one big test campaign.
Yeah.
And as Lusa reached his hand onto his sword and said, "I think it might be best if you gave us a discount."
No. That's not what he did.
That is what he did. He intimidated him. He was like, "Hey man, I think it's best you give us a discount." He
drew his sword and then said,
No, he didn't draw it. He put it down. The guy still was being an asshole to him. He started to like unsheath it and was like, "One more warning, bro." And then I remember it completely cleanly. It's like burned into my character's mind in one quick clean motion. He unscabbarded his sword, like took it right out and just shing into the wall.
But not before Bertrand could yell for the guards.
Yeah, not before Bertrand yelled out for guards. So basically we're in the small back room of this merchant shop, and no one's seen us walk in here. Thank fucking God. There was no NPCs described anywhere that saw us.
They were kind of towards the outskirts of town, and so it's like there wasn't necessarily anyone around.
So we're chilling there, and oh my God. I'm like, holy shit, I hear guards coming down. There's guards coming into this room. What are we going to do? Lusa, we just got here. What if we need to talk to people here? There's no way. You know what I mean? Like, we need to find the dwarf, bro. There's no way you just did this to us. So the headless merchant falls over. Guards start pouring in, bro. Like, pouring in. There's like 4 guards at first and a guard captain. And a whole fight ensues, and I throw feathers. Basically, for my campaign, or the way we ran the campaign, I had read somewhere on some D&D forum about a Kenku being able to use powers, or druid Kenkus, putting magic into their fucking feathers to try and like be able to send them off and do small little animations and things like that. So basically, we took that to the next level, and I tried to make Kenku a really cool magic casting class if you used it right. And for a small amount of time, I just kind of threw feathers, and nobody knew what I was trying to do until eventually, I would just pluck them off and throw a feather, and it would fly in front of my face.
It just float down to the ground.
And until one time, I think I rolled a fucking nat 20 when I went to do it. And just a volley of fucking feathers shoot out of my hands, and they block the door and hold it in. And
Mind you, all glowing with mana.
Yeah, they're all glowing purple with magical energy, and it's just holding this door shut. And I keep rolling strength checks against the guard trying to bust in, because we managed to use some kind of fucking stuff to sneak around and confuse the guards where everybody was at. It was just a whole situation. It resulted in like 7-9 different fucking deaths, and we left the building with no one knowing who we were or anyone seeing us at all. There were a bunch of dead bodies, a bunch of dead guards, and our characters go back to the wagon, and we had left our wagon on the outside of town, so whenever we came back in, it looked to everybody else's surprise who had just barely saw us, that we were just brand new people entering the town right at a wrong time. We had just came in, and we turned down. We were like, "Is there a merchant shop or anything like that?" And a guard told us, "No, blah 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 this, blah 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 that." And it ended up becoming known in the town as the Phandalin Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god,
they killed 6 guards, a guard captain, and Bertrand the merchant.
Yeah.
He did still have 2 apprentices, so they were able to take over the shop.
Yeah. That shit's so fucking great, though. Dude, it's one of my favorite stories just because it was the first, like, real shit moment in D&D for our characters. It was like, holy fuck, our actions are actually going to have consequences if we can't quickly somehow fix this or get out of this in a way.
Yeah.
And our characters, like, my character's proficient with deceiving people and talking to people, but I can't do that when there's a dead body behind me and a guy with a bloody sword. So we had to fight our way sneakily and leave the fucking place and be like, oh my god, bro, I'm so glad not a single person saw our face, all this other shit. And it was just a whole fucking scenario, and I loved it. It was one of our greatest fucking first stories, even though it was a terrible murder hobo story.
That's the unfortunate part is Lusa did play a little bit. He was a bit of a murder hobo, just slightly.
It was just how his character ran.
Yeah, he was just like the aggressive enforcer type.
Yeah, so, he was very aggressive, he was very enforcing, and he had the criminal background. He was just, ooh. Another interesting part of our campaign was the first time we got access to the deck of many things.
Oh yes. So, this is I guess
you tell this story.
I gotta do the introduction on this part because I don't know if you are quite familiar with the introduction.
No. Well, I do remember how we got them, but yeah.
If I remember correctly, actually I don't.
We were very off road of our campaign. We were not doing a lot of the story stuff at this time. And my friend Matthew, he was talking to DM about finding a camp that was selling weasels. And it was a kobold camp. A bunch of kobolds were selling these massive weasel creatures, dire weasels. And Matthew was talking about how he wanted to find one, get one, buy one, or some other way, you know what I mean? So we ended up designing a massive base, right? You designed a massive base, and it was filled with weasels and stuff. You were like, yes, this is going to be perfect. And you ended up having a winged kobold fly over the gate and stop in front of us. And he talked to, he talked to Nathan character.
He talked to,
because he was the only one. Yeah, the dragon character.
The only dragonborn there, because it was the only dragonkin. And the kobolds, for whatever reason, were a little bit racist.
Mm-hmm. They were just like, fuck these normal people. They
just didn't trust all the outsiders, and they just only trusted the dragonkin.
But yeah, if I remember correctly, you ended up giving the deck of many things to Nathan's character through the winged kobold.
I think it might have been. I think, I do believe...
I think I might be talking about... No, yeah, he got the deck of many things from the kobold.
I was gonna say, I do believe that, like, he managed to, I think it was a persuasion check on resources and, like, valuable items. Like, he was asking what he could get.
Mm-hmm.
And the kobold was like, well, I have this deck of cards. I haven't really figured out anything about it, because, you know, if you don't utter... In our campaign setting, if you didn't utter... the certain amount of cards that you wanted to draw aloud, the deck did not activate. So it would just be like a normal deck. And you could just draw them and look at it and be like, oh, this is just a card.
This is just a normal card.
Yeah. And so the kobold just kind of gave them away.
He just thought they were normal cards and didn't want them anymore.
Because they weren't playing cards. They had like pictures and stuff on them. So he was like, I
can't use these.
Yeah.
So it's just hilarious.
And so the party acquired it. And... I thought it was another hilarious thing was one of the first cards drawn, not necessarily the first, but one of the first cards drawn was Fortress. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And basically...
or it wasn't Fortress, it was Throne.
Throne, yeah. Basically, whatever the nearest stronghold, or a stronghold in your world, starts being attacked and overturned.
Yeah.
by something. It's up to DM. And you get, and so, well, they were right by the Cobalt settlement. And so the Cobalt settlement just started getting attacked out of nowhere. And so, of course, they were like, well, they kind of just gave us some goods and traded with us. Maybe we should go help them. And plus, they still have the weasels.
Yeah.
Because they did not acquire a weasel.
Might I mind you, that from my perspective of this, my friend just drew like 4 or 5 different cards that made him a god in front of my eyes. He had sword and levels.
He literally gained 60,000 experience.
He also managed to
Within
get
the first-
2 magic spells, or 2 wish spells.
Yes, he did get 2 Jester cards. He drew 2 Jester cards, which means that he got plus 4 wishes.
No,
Because
the
I
moon
kept-
card gives you the moon. The moon card gives you the
Is
wish.
the moon?
Yeah.
Sorry, the moon cards. He drew 2
You're
moon
supposed to roll
cards.
a D3, but we didn't have a D3, so we just had him roll a D4, and he ended
No,
up
it
getting
was the
4
Jester
wish
card.
spells.
It was the Jester card, though. The one that lets you draw 2 more cards.
Mm-hmm. Except that it...
He kept drawing that one, so we just kept getting... I recycled the deck. I didn't just take out the ones that he had already drawn. And so, like... I guess I should have recycled the deck.
Maybe.
Or not recycled it, I mean.
And, yeah, so basically from my perspective, when we got to the throne, like, where we needed to go, where the throne card was, we had discovered, oh shit, it's like the Kobold base again, and it's being overrun by monsters. We get in there, one of them is literally like a good god, one is this brain-looking weird thing, and then he drops a motherfucking cockatrice on us. I am a DM now, and I've heard thousands of different D&D stories, so I know that these
guys
things are
want me to-
crazy. But at the time, I didn't know that this fucking thing existed, man. And I was just sitting there, and I look as he describes this chicken turning, like, 6 or 5 different kobolds right in front of him into stone with
He was
one
just
single
pecking at them.
peck. And our characters had never encountered something like this. Our characters are still relatively new at the time of this happening. We just got really overpowered out of nowhere because of the deck of many things. So we're chilling there, and I just see this terrifying looking chicken turn everything into stone.
But there's also the fact that there was a strange, weird-looking brain dog.
Yeah, the brain dog
That
also
all of a
got
sudden-
turned into stone.
The interesting thing about it is what the brain dog did is it jumped onto one of the kobolds. The cobalt went limp, and all of a sudden the cobalt started attacking other kobolds. But of course, it quickly got
It got pecked and turned into stone.
yeah.
So yeah, it was just a whole fucking scenario where this
And then there was a
thing was killing everything, but the good goddess ended up helping us at the
I was
very,
gonna
very
say,
end.
Yeah, they saw what the other two the other 2 creatures that they saw were a strange, weird-looking, like flying snake almost, and a metallic-looking bull.
Mm-hmm.
The metallic-looking bull did do some damage, if I remember correctly. It did hit.
Oh
the
yeah, there
Dragonborn.
was a Gorgon. I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
He didn't petrify anyone. He didn't manage to do that. But
Yeah, none of us got petrified, thank fucking God.
But it would have been bad.
It would have been terrible. And, yeah, so basically, we ended up realizing that Tracy just dropped random fucking monsters he saw in the book on us without looking. So we got a celestial god, a brain monster that can suck your entire soul out pretty much with one fucking move and
take
take
over
your
your mind.
body. Just take your entire body. And then a chicken that turns things to stone in one peck. We are like level 10
Don't
barely.
forget the Gorgon.
Barely. We don't even know how the fucking shit works, so we're not even looking up our shit. We've probably maybe gotten like one of the
say
books
level
at the
10?
time. We weren't level 10, like we were like I was level 6. I was like level 6
Yeah,
or
I was
5.
gonna say actually, if you want me to tell you how it went correctly, no one.
Yeah,
was
no
even
one was
that
level 10. Everybody was
Because
like level
didn't-
5.
We didn't level up anyone until after the cards were finished, and after the session was finished.
Until we learned how all the level ups even worked, because he was a level 10 for the longest time, and all we knew that he was able to transform into was different monsters because he was a druid. Our Dragonborn was a druid and was able to transform into higher monsters, and that's all he knew. He actually didn't even know anything else. But yeah, our DM just kind of dropped monsters on us without really reading what they did until he started getting into combat. So here's my DM's perspective on that.
I was a little like perturbed by the idea that I was going to have to set up a battle in a random fortress somewhere on the map. And so yes,
That he like hadn't
admittedly-
designed.
Yep, I should say I didn't design the fortress.
Okay, if we really want to confuse you guys right now, not only was I a player in my first D&D campaign, but I also had to be a DM. Our DM, or Tracy here, had a lot of stuff going on and just wasn't always able to DM for us.
I needed to sleep for school.
Yeah, I had to, take over the mantle as DM, and I started to understand it. It wasn't too difficult at the start. But, the further and further we got, I just started realizing that I was the one that was going to have to design the bases and maps. So I started designing more bases and maps, and now it led to a whole ass fucking book in front of me, full of bases and maps of my own campaign that I've made. Because I like being a DM, and it is very fun being a god.
Admittedly, being thrown into a campaign with no prior, no prep time, it's not as fun.
It's not as fun.
Just winging it, sure, it might seem
That's
fun,
what I'm saying, but
I
you
mean,
got the whole world in front of you. Even I was having fun I was having way too much fun. DM is just, it's almost impossible not to have fun as DM unless you just don't know how to deal with your players. And I don't know how to deal with my players, and that's a problem. And pretty much this entire encounter ended off with the good god just killing everything else that was evil there. So all the kobolds that were still in the fucking place just died immediately because they were evil. So we had an empty fortress that we now owned.
And it had weasels.
And it was full of dire weasels. It was amazing. And me as DM had to, because Tracy, like I said, he doesn't like doing big DM stuff for some fucking reason. I had to sit down and do the entire equipment system of what they owned, had, and traded. So now we owned all of that. And I was fair with it too, because I realized I was a player, so I left it all up to the dice. I rolled dice for everything and depended on everything. Whether we had it, how much we had, and everything. Like, dice rolled for everything. And we had a decent amount of stuff. It gave us some health potions, some swords and stuff that we could stock up people with. And it was a pretty well done encounter. We owned a base from that, and a lot of interesting things happened. Like one of the first times we used a crazy magical item that we also kind of homebrewed the rules for a little bit because
let's talk about magic.
Yeah, if you mess it up.
So let's talk about magic. I had given Craw, well, not necessarily me, but Craw had attained an item known as the Wand of Magic Missiles.
Mm-hmm.
And to tell the truth, at the time I didn't know the rules of magic, nor the rules of magical items.
Neither did I. Neither did nobody. Magic was confusing. Magic's dumb and confusing for a beginner player.
Magic hurt our brains.
Magic was very confusing for a beginner player, especially for someone that didn't have access to spell books and for some reason didn't want to go onto YouTube and look up or learn anything after he already pretty much learned everything on his own. So, we were just kind of being dumb.
Pretty much. But, and like, to put in perspective, the Dragonborn, the only one who actually, used spells consistently besides Craw, but he, only used mage feathers.
Yeah. Craw used mage feathers.
He didn't have any components that he had to do.
Yeah, I just had to smash some magic into some fucking feathers off of me.
Mm-hmm. But with the Dragonborn, he actually did spells that would require components, time, and all that other stuff.
That we didn't look up. Yeah, that we did not look up, and he just did not care. Oh my god, that was, wow. Yep. The days of Lightning Bolt.
Mm-hmm. Actually,
the days
he didn't
of
even cast Lightning Bolt. He just casted Magic Missile over and over again.
Pretty much, yeah. Except Magic Missile, you don't need anything. You pretty much can. It's like almost a cantrip.
Oh, nice.
It's almost a cantrip. I'm pretty sure it's a first level spell. But basically we ended up, before too much crazy stuff happened, before the deck, before all of that, I had gotten this wand. At the time, I didn't use a lot of magic, and I appreciated my feathers more. So the wand was kind of like a forget about, use whenever I have it, forget about it kind of thing. And I ended up coming up with a weird rule for the wand. I
Yeah.
didn't do it as a DM. I mentioned it as a player, and the DM was like, "Yeah, I don't see why not. You have a chance of losing your wand,
I
so
think
what's
we
it
should.
matter?"
I think we should set the stage here.
Yeah, set the
So
stage.
it's very dark. You're in a cave. There's a cavern. You're in a very large cave. There's a cavern in the middle of the room that spans across the entire
We
cave.
can see though. We do have dark vision.
Yes, they can all see because they have dark vision. And then there's two bridges, and then the walls they scale up really high, and then there's a high ceiling. And as the party walks through the northwest entrance, whatever you want to call it, they see a strange creature crawling on the wall towards them. It has a big central eye, and it has a weird looking skin, and it's crawling on the wall, so it's very creepy already. And well, what did Craw do?
After we had decided, or well, no, we didn't just immediately result to it. We had kind of like tried to attack it a bunch. Nothing was really working. It was able to resist some form of magic that we had thrown at it or something like that.
It did have magic resistance.
Yeah, so it had magic resistance. But you want to know what Craw decided to do? He looked at his magically imbued item and was like, well, if I don't do as much damage with magic, what if I just overload him with damage? So I had 7 shots. It was a brand new day. All 7 shots fully charged in my wand.
And now, mind you, 1 shot for a magic missile wand means you get 3 magic missiles.
3 magic missiles fire.
3 individual damage.
I fired off all at once from a bazooka-like blast from my wand.
All 7 charges.
All 7 charges. 21 different rolls later of damage.
And that motherfucker's
entire I shot him right in the eye.
Hole.
Yeah, I shot him right in the eye with a concentrated blast of magic missiles. It was just so OP. The wand fizzled very hot, like it was very hot. And if you know the rules with the wand, if you roll a natural 1 after using all 7 charges, it blows up. We had came up with a rule for it since I had decided that it was such an OP kind of blast all 7 shots off, you know what I mean, kind of rule. I had said, like, well, if I do that and I roll a nat 1, I take a certain amount of force or I take half the damage that I would have done to the, like, creature.
Yeah.
So if I blast off that much damage and it hits the creature, I take half of whatever damage I did to the creature in force damage, and the 1 blows up.
Or in other words, there was a 5% chance he was going to kill himself and blow himself up every time he used the wand.
Because might I add you, like I said, we didn't know how leveling up works very much, because we also didn't know how health points worked. We knew just barely enough to get us some kind of little bits of health points, and then we ended up finding out how they worked, like, level 10.
Yeah, at least Bruce, the Dragonborn, was level 10.
Yeah.
I believe that everyone else was roughly level 6. He just got majorly over-leveled because of the Deck of Many Things.
Yeah, and it kind of jump-started the campaign. It was like, holy shit, we're going to really need to know how to work this shit if we're going to be this high of levels. And we're like, what does being this high of a level even do for you? You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things. Those smacks are Tracy trying to clean coffee off of his paper. But yeah, this was a pretty good fucking D&D story session. Those were my like very beginning stories with the game. We have more, so if this does pretty decent, I'll probably talk about some more D&D stories. And I would love to try and get some more D&D content on here because it's a game that I very much enjoy playing, and it's a very good community to try and get into. Mm-hmm. I think it would be very fun. And yeah. Enjoy, guys. Anything you want to say, Tracy?
No, sirree.
No, sirree. He does have a channel you can check out if you want.
Oh, yeah, I do have a channel.
He just casually forgets that he has a channel.
It's more of a gaming channel, basic stuff like that. It's Immortal _Beast space 64.
And if you're bored enough to sit here and listen to us talk about D&D stories, go check out his gaming videos. They're not that bad. They're very enjoyable. I like watching them. They're fun. Might as well have a nice day while you're at it. Enjoy your life. I will enjoy mine.